to uphold and follow the law like everyone else. He did not do that. The police department didn't do that. Everyone else didn't do that. His lawyer defending him didn't do that. Like, there's right and there's wrong. There's no gray area here. What he did was wrong. After the first hit, and a sane person in their right mind would have stopped, called the police, and did what they had to do. At him being a police officer, but he didn't. He hit the second car, the third car, the fourth car, the fifth car, the sixth car, and kept going, and then still tried to flee the scene.
Frustration there from a witness after this man, Erie County Chief of Narcotics DJ Granville, pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge today related to a series of hit-and-run crashes and only got a small fine and community service. We have been following this case closely for months now. A criminal probe culminated in today's arraignment in Buffalo City Court. But other investigations continue, and there are a lot of questions tonight about the alleged cover-up involving Buffalo police who responded that night, and whether or not what happened in court today is really justice. We do have some new video to show you tonight. This is the scene the night of the crime right there on the west side of Buffalo. This is April of 2024. You can see Chief of Narcotics DJ Granville behind the wheel of that truck after he had crashed into multiple parked vehicles along 3 different city blocks. John Elmore is an attorney, also a former prosecutor and former state trooper, and he joins me live here tonight as we make sense of what happened today. You've been helping us understand this case along the way. We knew the Niagara County District Attorney was appointed special prosecutor. They've been investigating this. They came up with 1 misdemeanor, 1 violation to which he pleaded guilty today. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I'd say it's a very sad day. If you look at those residents whose cars were smashed up and they didn't know what happened, they had to find a lawyer to find out what happened and then go to the county to get reimbursed for the damage to your car. They certainly aren't happy with this. The taxpayers of this city should be disappointed in what happened with the Buffalo Police Department's investigation. The body cam evidence of what happened was destroyed, and a lieutenant investigated a case that had a conflict of interest. And then we have Investigator Granville, who has a very distinguished career, very well trained, and did a tremendous service to this county before then. But now, because of this incident, he's no longer of value as a narcotics investigator because of this misconduct. Any case that he is involved with, then he's going to be an issue rather than what the person who was arrested did, which could be applying for a search warrant, testifying at trial. So there's a loss all the way around. And I can say that whatever happens to him, I just hope that if he needs counseling, if he needs help, rehabilitation or whatever, that he gets that help. And if he retires from the police department, I wish him the best and for him and his family.
So we got a statement just a short time ago, right before 5 o'clock, from Erie County Sheriff John Garcia. An internal affairs investigation continues with the sheriff's office. There also is an internal affairs investigation with Buffalo Police. This is not the end of this, but I think a lot of people look at what happened today and think if this had been Joe Schmo out there who did what Chief Granville now admits to doing, the consequence would have probably been different.
Certainly. I mean, if that was an intoxicated driver, and certainly there's allegations that he was intoxicated, the person would have been locked up, handcuffed, taken to jail, and probably not let out until the next day, and had their driver's license suspended for a significant period of time, paid a heavy fine.
In terms of the statement from the sheriff, one thing that's interesting in here is now that he has pleaded guilty, is being suspended without pay as these investigations continue. Up until this point, he had been suspended with pay. What do you make of that?
Well, there's a union contract that probably governed whether or not he was suspended with or without pay. Now that he's suspended with pay, without pay, that's probably the first opportunity that the sheriff had to do that.
I mentioned the internal affairs investigations that continue with Buffalo Police. Remember, the allegation here, and the most significant part of all of this really is the cover-up, right? The allegation that his sister-in-law, who was the lieutenant for Buffalo Police, who responded to the scene, that she did not conduct herself appropriately there. She and 4 other officers remain on paid leave right now. Now that the criminal part of this is over, we would expect that the internal affairs investigation would be able to wrap up, right?
You would expect that would be the case. who knows what would have happened had this not been brought to the public's eye. But it's very disappointing that body camera evidence wasn't preserved, that it was allowed to be erased. There may have been some officers that neglected their duty and could have falsified police reports, not tell the truth. I mean, when you see a crime committed, you would expect a police officer is going to do the right thing and make an arrest to protect the public.
Finally, I'm almost out of time, but what do you anticipate happens to the 5 Buffalo police officers with internal affairs investigating?
I don't anticipate that any of them will be fired. I hope that what happened, the police commissioner and the mayor will look at it and get some internal procedures and changes in the way things operate so that it doesn't happen again. And I think that's the most important thing.
Attorney John Elmore, a long career in law enforcement, sort of on both sides of it, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, as a state trooper. Thanks so much for coming in, John.
And thanks for having me.
Insight.